everyone, welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning in. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Layla, the Lenormand reader, and today folks we are doing another card combination practice. This suggestion comes from Alpha Andromeda. Thank you Alpha Andromeda for leaving this suggestion here. Your question was about the order of the cards, and in your question you asked if this order is more positive than this order. So yes, in general it would be, because the clover is on the right hand side, and again that's how I like to read the cards. I tend to see them as flowing in terms of the story from left to right. So the right tends to be more associated with the outcome, and the earlier cards more about the beginning. So it unfolds positively and things are resolved. So let's look at this this order and break down the combination. So the mouse is about glitches, speed bumps, things going wrong here and there. It can be an annoying card, and a lot of people don't like it. Like a lot of people get this negative energy from it, but honestly it's not such a big deal. The mouse is more about the smaller issues, like little things here that are annoying, that get in your way, etc. They're not a huge deal. This said, the mouse is the type of thing that eats away at things. So they eat away at food, they eat away at furniture, at wood and things like that. And so the idea is, if you leave the mouse unchecked, then the issues can grow to something bigger. So when we get the mouse, it's always a good idea to pay attention to what's going on and not delay doing that, because if we do, then the issues could grow into something bigger, and it's really something that you could prevent. So just heed the advice of the mouse and pay attention to the details and look at what's going wrong so that you can fix it. The mouse is also associated with losses. It has to do with things being taken away. It's also associated with waste, like wasting money, losing money, and similar ideas. The clover, though, is one of the luckiest cards of the deck. It's always bright to see, and seeing it with the mouse clearly suggests that whatever issues represented by the mouse can be resolved, will be resolved. When it comes to losses, it indicates, or it can indicate, that a recovery of these losses is possible. This would be especially true with the flowers as well, instead of the clover, because the flowers is associated with things coming back, because of its association with spring. But the clover also does a pretty good job suggesting that, because it is so lucky. So when it comes to losses, it's very possible that we're able to recover them and get that thing that we lost back. When it comes to issues and glitches and the little speed bumps that we're going through, the clover is also very protective. It tells us that we will quickly resolve them, or that they're a complete non-issue. And the clover being a protective card, it can also suggest in this combination that we are protected from losses and issues, especially in this order of the cards. When it comes to relationships, and this is not really a relationship combination, but if the context suggested that, or if we had more cards that pointed to a relationship, then the mouse can point to issues of trust and doubts. And when we see it with the clover, then it's very likely that we are able to resolve our doubts about this person, that mistrust or issues that we had with them at this level are resolved, and we're able to just completely recover from the doubts and the hesitancy around this. So the clover is really lovely any way we look at the combination. Now let us switch around this order to exercise our imagination here, our interpretive imagination. Does it take away from the luck of the clover to have the mouse on the right hand side? I would say possibly yes. The clover is an all-around lucky card, but even then, and even if we have the star as well, having the mouse on the right hand side is at least going to tell us to pay attention to. I would say that one way we can read this combination is not to take our luck for granted, and to always appreciate what we have. I also think that we shouldn't, so if we have plenty, for example, with the mouse on the right hand side, it would suggest that we shouldn't waste what we have, even if we have plenty. So still paying attention to the details. And also I really suspect that the mouse can point to a bit of envy here. It's usually the snake and possibly the fox that best suggests that. But the mouse can really bring up this idea of, people who are not, who are not really trusting or trustworthy. And so with the clover, I think we're able to know who they are and protect ourselves from them. And so the combination in this order would suggest that, just watch out for people who don't necessarily have your best interest at heart, who want to take advantage of your good or your abundance, and things like that. So see if you can conserve yourself, conserve your good when we see the mouse in this combination. I hope this is helpful, Alpha Andromeda and others. Let me know your thoughts and suggestions. Let's start with our triplets here. So just picking up one, putting it on the left. Another man card. I think I got this last time. Let's go with it. So with the man here at the outset, it can mean that because the mouse is on the right hand side, I'm not so sure that it is I feel that we still need to be a little bit careful with this person, but not as much as we thought we would be. And it's also possible that this person is going to come in handy with helping us out with issues down the line. And the reason I say that is because the clover is the card that is closest to the man. And so to just recap this briefly, this person comes to our support in the face of challenges. It is possible and likely that he helps us overcome the challenges, but because the mouse is on the right hand side, I feel we still need to work through them. It's not like we can, throw all caution to the wind, if you know what I mean. Now suppose we had the man in the middle like this. Okay, then in this case, I feel that the clover could be giving us the insight to foresee that there's going to be a few issues with this person. Okay, especially in view of the fact that the mouse is closest to the man and that the mouse is on the right hand side. But again, I don't feel that it really gets to us. Like any issues associated with this man or his lack of trust or the fact that we can't really trust this person, I think it's largely overcome by the clover. I think we see what this person is about and we don't really fall for any traps. It's just really allowing them to play it out and having the awareness to see what's ahead. That's my suggestion. To be honest, I'm not really seeing that. I feel that I'm maybe forcing the different interpretation because of the order a little bit. I think that any way we look at the cards, it can be supportive. Let's put the mouse earlier in the line. This one is a bit clearer, I think. It suggests that issues with a man are resolved, especially because the clover is on the right-hand side of the line. So I feel that there could have been an issue here. It's in the earlier phases of the situation, but then we have the clover and things are resolved. So honestly, I think there are a few differences between the order of the cards in this triplet, just because the clover is pretty powerful in its positive influence on the cards. And like we said when we were just looking at the pair, mouse and clover, we're able to recover whatever issues are brought by the mouse. And if the issues come later with the mouse being placed in the later parts of the line, then I feel that thanks to the clover, we're either ready to cope with them, to deal with them, or they don't get to us all that much. So this is my suggestion for the man in the different triplets. Let's pull another card. Let's put it in the middle. The house. Oh, interesting. So the house is obviously about the home. It's also about family and our closer circle in life. And it can also point to certain places that we are part of, certain groups, closer groups. Most notably, on the job, it tends to refer to our team, the closer team, as opposed to the bigger company. So with the mouse and house, clearly there's going to be some issues in the home. This can be straight up physical, like, things breaking down in the house, things that need repair, things like that. And so it could be a good time to either renovate, thanks to the clover, or to fix these things. And the clover is very encouraging, like whatever issues, they can be resolved. Now, the mouse and house can also point to theft. And so it's important here to be vigilant. So secure your home, secure your spaces. And the thing about the clover is that it's really positive, and like we suggested earlier, it can point to a recovery. So if there were losses or things were taken away from the home, you can secure your home and even recover what was lost or stolen. So that's a pretty interesting combination here. Now let's look at the more, the people side that's associated with home, like the idea of family and the closer team on the job. So obviously with the mouse, there are issues of trust. There could be, arguments, tension, maybe some backbiting. And so there could be like an overall negative energy in the environment. But again, the clover really helps overcome that. And it certainly encourages you to take care of that. And the same applies on the job, where there could have been issues with people, or maybe just issues on the job. And again, the clover helps us recover that. Now let's switch around the order here. Let's see. I think if we did mouse in the middle, I think if we left the clover on the right, the same indications are gonna apply. So I'm gonna move the clover. If we have it like this, for example, at the outset, again, I feel that we are protected in the face of challenges, okay? In the home, family, with the house itself. The thing about the clover at the outset, I feel, is it has a preventative kind of influence on the cards. I feel that even though there are going to be issues coming through, I think we're prepared for them. And the clover in all cases alerts us to them, and alerts us to, the mouse alerts us to them, but having the clover at the outset advises us to be prepared for possible issues down the line. I do think they come because of the mouse being on the right hand side, and even if it were in the middle, really, let's look at that in a bit. The idea of the clover at the outset helps us with this like a preventative kind of thing going on. I feel that with the house in the middle here and the mouse on the right hand side, I think it's important to set healthy boundaries. It's important not to be, I would say, possibly overly generous, and to be a bit more vigilant about at least certain types of people. The house is, being about the home, it has that sense of privacy and therefore boundaries. I think that's pretty clear. This is very different from the garden, which is totally open, and the road, which is also a totally open card. The house has that sense of enclosure, and so by association, it has to do with privacy and boundaries. So with the mouse on the other side of the house, I feel that it's important for us to set some healthy boundaries with certain types. So not being too trusting towards certain people, not letting certain types into our home, possibly into our space, metaphorically. And I think that's what the clover helps us do. It sort of gives us that sense of assurance that we should set up healthy boundaries, because there are people who are going to try to take, advantage of our generosity or whatever else. So I think this could be another interpretation of the cards. Let's have the house on the right hand side. Let me see. I don't think this makes a lot of difference. I think the same ideas apply. And I think with the mouse and clover here, I'm not seeing a lot of difference either. The idea of recovery is indicated, so this is where it's more preventative, which is what we read with the mouse here. It was the same thing. And this is where there's that sense of recovery. Yeah. So I think this is the main insight that I'm getting from examining the triplet. So let me just recap what I'm thinking. When the clover is before the mouse, ahead of the mouse, it has that preventative kind of energy, and when it's after the mouse, it has that recovery kind of energy. So I think this applies here as well. In a triplet, it's just that the house is giving us the context for where this is happening. The mouse and clover, I think, is a recovery of losses or issues figuring in the house, which is very similar to what we read in this combination. And with the clover and mouse, there is again that idea of preventing issues from happening with the use of healthy boundaries. So again, folks, I'm not seeing too many differences in the order of the cards in this triplet. Let us move on to another one. So clover and mouse. And let's do stork. Wow, that's interesting. I like this. I think this adds a different dimension. So I think the stork popped up in our most recent card combination, the one that was 2 weeks ago. The stork is about change and moving on and moving. It's associated with house moves. What's interesting is that because the mouse is in the middle, I feel that the combination here could be telling us to let go of losses, that we really shouldn't hang on too much to what was lost or what we wasted. Like, just move on, let it go, turn the page and move into a different direction. We'll be fine. So even though we don't necessarily recover the losses, because like we said, the mouse comes after the clover, the idea of the stork brings relief. So I feel that we could just let go of what we lost previously. Just even if we don't recover it, we can move on from it. So that's super cool. The mouse and clover, again, is the idea of a recovery. And here with this stork on the other side of the clover, I'm really getting a feeling of, let me tell you what I'm thinking. I feel that it has to do with being able to get back at someone. Let me know how you feel about this. But, with the clover and stork, I feel like we turn out to have been right. And maybe we were doubted or someone was, shaking our ground. But then with the clover and stork, it's like there's a turnaround to our advantage. I'm really loving this interpretation of this triplet. It's fun. And I'm really resonating it, like I'm really getting it in my mind. And so I really want to, put it out there. So yes, it's very much about recovering a loss. It is recovering a loss without the stork. With the stork, there is that added sense of relief. But there is also, when it comes to, at least with the people element, and in some other ways as well, possibly, the idea of being able to turn things around to our advantage. So I feel that the stork and clover is a bit like a tour de force, as we'd say in French, like the idea of, things switch to our advantage. And it's like, it gives us that sense of relief and empowerment because of the clover in the middle. So that is really interesting. If I had the stork and the mouse next to each other like that, I would read this as a loss. Like, straight up in my dictionary, this is losing something. Again, with the clover, it can point to recovery, but I have to say, because the stork sort of is in the middle and it's about moving on and change, it's okay to forget about it if we don't recover it, because the clover is on the right hand side. Okay, how else would we look at these cards? Let me see. Suppose we had the mouse on the right hand side. Would this be different? I think so. I think it's a little bit different. I think it can mean I think it can mean that we should take some kind of action towards this issue here represented by the mouse. The reason I say that is because this stork has a quality of taking initiative. It's an active card. It asks us to change. It picks up and moves on and gets things done. It's a little bit like the rider in this sense. And so when I see it at the outset here, it gives us like this kickoff kind of energy. And with the clover and mouse, it's really about facing up to this challenge indicated by the mouse. And the thing about this clover here is that we could have been hesitating about this or, doubting ourselves that we're capable of confronting the issue. But really with the stork and clover, we're encouraged to just confront the issue, And that's how I feel this triplet can be interpreted. If there was a change in here, I think the same thing applies. I think in this case, the combination of the stork and mouse, which is more about a straight up loss, as far as I'm concerned, with the clover at the outset, again, we're seeing that preventative element. It's a bit like the clover and mouse, like we're suggesting. The idea that we're protected from losses, it's just that the stork qualifies the mouse a bit more specifically, and the idea of a loss is more, crystallized in the cards. So these are my thoughts. These are my thoughts. I want to do one more triplet because when I get a people card, I feel it's not. So let's pick a third one. Here we go. Ah, the Tower. Interesting. Tower is a different card. Tower is a really curious card. It gets, for a lot of people, it's not clear what the Tower means. So it might be one of those cards that you have to sit and think about, you know, what it means. So let's look at this triplet. In my dictionary, the Tower is about time, authority, the law, and administration. So it's just a whole bunch of different things that are not obviously related. But when it figures in a line, then, you know, any of these aspects can come through. So the Clover, Mouse, and Tower. When I see the Mouse and Tower, I really feel that things are dragging out over time. And they're just dragging and taking time. It also points to slowness. What's interesting is that a lot of Lenormand readers interpret the Mouse in terms of time as happening really fast. I've seen hours and days. Honestly, I don't resonate this way with the Mouse. I feel because it is associated with obstacles, I feel it slows things down, although mice are pretty fast and sharp. So when it comes to the combination with the Tower, I feel that this idea of things taking even more time can be happening here. And this idea of impatience and losing patience and just feeling that things are dragging is what I'm seeing through the Mouse and Tower. And the thing about the Mouse and Tower figuring on the right hand side is that this is going to happen, but the Clover here tells us that there's a good reason for this to happen and that we should bear it out and be patient because things are, you know, being figured out, or they need to take their time for whatever reason in the specific context. So really this is a combination of patience and of being willing to put up with the issues over the longer term because it's to our advantage. Now suppose the Mouse comes after the Tower. If you see the Mouse as happening really fast, I personally don't, but supposing you do, then I feel that it could sort of cut short the Tower in terms of the timeline, the timing. It can make it shorter, happen earlier than we thought, you know? But in this case, maybe we're not ready for it. You know, the Mouse, you know, being associated with obstacles and issues, it can mean that, you know, things happen faster and we need to deal with them. But again, because of the lovely Clover, we'll be able to deal with it. So when we deal with it, we need to deal with it with expertise and wisdom and calmness. You know, it's like we're dealing with like a problem child of sorts because of the Mouse, and the Tower being in the middle here, it gives us that sense of calm and wisdom. It's like we have the bird's eye view on things. We see the big picture in the face of these little details. So that is really an interesting indication coming through the cards. Continuing on this sort of thinking, you know, the idea that the Tower is about the bigger picture and the Mouse is about the details. With the Clover, it can mean that we need to balance these two and that we need to take out the details from the big picture. I don't know, that's possible if it applies in the context. I'll keep that in mind. And yet another interpretation is when we look at the Tower in terms of law, administration, and all of that, there can be issues, okay, that causes a delay of sorts with your, whatever it is, your paperwork or your, whatever it is you're pursuing. It can mean that a judgment comes not exactly as you would have liked. You have to compromise because of the Mouse. But again, the Clover says that that's okay, that's not too bad. And I also think that you've got to have the right expertise on your side in order to deal with some issues. Yeah. So again, the Tower being associated with this height and elevation, it's usually associated with experts and consultants and authorities and things like that. So make sure you are tapping into the right authority, the right expertise to deal with the issues. So let's remove the Mouse from the right hand side and let's put other cards here. I don't think that there's a lot of difference here from what we said because the Tower is on the right hand side and the Clover is in the middle. It's a good idea to just be patient with things unfolding over time. it's things need to take their time, and apparently there's a good reason for that. And also remember that we've got the mouse and clover that helps with recovering losses or issues. And the clover and tower can also mean a long patch of good luck. So you are here in a position to resolve issues and to set yourself in like a really good space for the long term. So I feel that is another indication that could happen. If we had the mouse and the clover, I think we just read that, didn't we? I think that's the same thing as well. Tower, I don't think there are any more differences, folks. This is also a long patch of good luck. Being patient over the long term leads to the right results. I'm not seeing any additional differences here. Did I miss something? Let me know, folks, and let me know your thoughts about these interpretations. So these are my suggestions for the mouse and clover. Thanks again, Alpha Andromeda, for suggesting or bringing up this combination. And leave me your suggestions for our next card combination readings. And very best of luck with your practice. Keep practicing and keep letting me know how you're coming along with your practice. So until we meet again, thank you so much for watching and take very good care of yourself.